Hey, y'all. Welcome to Versions of B, a podcast by a woman, for women, and sometimes everyone else, discussing different topics that we face on a day to day basis that requires us to show up as different versions of ourselves. I'm Brittany, the B and version of B, and I would like to thank you for joining me for my very first podcast episode. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. So, who's B, right? Hopefully, a lot of you don't know me. But if you do, this will just be a refresher. My name is Brittany. I am from a small town in Virginia, so shout out to the PEP. I am one of 10 girls. Yes, you heard me correctly. 10 girls. So to say my childhood was hectic would be a understatement. But with that, God has blessed me with lifelong best friends that I get to journey through this thing called life with. And I could not ask for anything more. My sisters mean the world to me. And now, as we venture out into parenthood and extending and growing our own personal, immediate families, it's also a joy to just see little renditions of themselves that I get to love on as well. Outside of that, I went to college. I actually went to two colleges, overachiever, not so much. But I went to North Carolina A&T initially, and then shout out to A&T Aggie Pride, and then I went to Virginia State University, so go V State, to finish out my college career. I got my degree in psychology. I just knew I was going to be a psychologist, but no. And now I am a professional in HR, and we're just going to leave it at that. While I was in college, I met my husband and love of my life, Brian. We met as what I would say as babies. We were 21. So we kind of grew up together, both independently and within our relationship. We were together for 10 years. Yes, 10 long years before we tied the knot in 2021. But through our journey together, we traveled. And when I say travel, we traveled. We ate good. And we really enjoyed and understood, took the time to understand what a successful relationship looked like to us, and then implemented the work to be able to have that. And I'm proud to say, like, we're on the right trajectory. We're happy, and I love that for us. In 2022, we welcomed our beautiful baby boy into the world, and so we are now knee deep in parenthood. And as much as it is hectic and chaotic and sleep deprived, actually not that much. He was a good sleeper. We are also just as thrilled and excited and blessed to be able to have the opportunity to cultivate and develop such a beautiful, loving, sweet, and very cute little boy. And so we're really excited about that. And so that is, on the surface, a little deeper than the surface, than me in the nutshell. And what I'm doing today is just trying to figure out how to balance and juggle all of that, because those are different versions of me that make up Brittany, and I kind of juggle between them on a day-to-day basis. And so for versions of B, it's literally that. It's a safe space for me and you to talk about the different things that we encounter, to share best practices, to build a community of support and uplifting for you, for me, and anyone else that needs that support as we navigate through life and as we grow and explore both personally and within our families and professionally within our careers. Sometimes you just need that support system, and you need the rally cry for help and the cheerleaders that are going to push you forward. So outside of the, hey, follow my page, subscribe, all that good stuff, which I would love if you could do that. The most important thing for me is the engagement as far as the conversations, being able to support you and then have that support back, being able to put in best practices, being able to have that sense of community is really important. And that's my mission. And I feel like that is my purpose right now where I am in life. So, yeah. So let's jump into today's topic, which I think is very fitting. which is self-doubt. I have struggled with this for a while and with a lot of things, right? But in particular for today, I wanted to talk about the self doubt that I had that prevented me from moving forward with this podcast, entering into the space of a, dare I say, influencer or creator, and what I did to kind of overcome, to hush the comments in my head, to push forward and persevere through all of that. And I'm hoping that this conversation will resonate with you and also provide insight and tips, or just a healthy conversation on how you can push through and persevere on your topic, situation as well. So, for me, self doubt. That's something that I've honestly struggled with for most of my life. I am a self diagnosed person with imposter syndrome. Let me emphasize on self diagnosed because I don't want anyone coming for me. But I, I'm a people pleaser at heart. I also think that that plays a big part into my self doubt because I'm constantly reminding myself that the things that I do in life are for me, not other people. And sometimes when I don't stay true to that, this self doubt comes into play. And so there were a couple of things that prevented me from getting to this point of starting this podcast and launching my first episode. But I will say, regardless of what those things are, we are here today. So I also want to just put that light at the end of the tunnel for you. For me personally, I thought there were like three main things that kind of were standing in my way. The first being like, hey, what if I do all of this and nobody wants to listen to me? Like, what if my message falls on deaf ears? Like, what if I don't get any feedback, no response, no engagement? And I struggled with that for a while. And every time I would like, nope, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to do this thing. That was like the first and main thing that came to me. And I was like, nope, never mind. Just forget it. But it kept eating at me. It kept eating at me. And I was like, okay, I obviously really want to do this because I can't get away from it. And I ask you and encourage you to listen to that for yourself because you know yourself better than anyone else. You'll know if it's something that you really want to do. And if you really want to do it, nothing and no one should prevent you from doing it. And that's kind of what I was feeling. And so I took it upon myself to just sit with that and really reflect and try to also understand why I want to do it so badly. Because I think also understanding the intent and what you want out of the moment or out of the situation will also help you assess if it's worth it, or not, or if this is the thing for you. And so I was like, why do I want to do this? I feel like I get asked questions on a day-to-day basis from colleagues, from peers, from family members, just seeking my advice, going through similar experiences, what my opinion, how have I gone through certain things. And each time I get a different positive response on like, hey, I didn't think of it from that perspective. That helps me a lot. Or, wow, I would have never done that. And I'm so glad I asked you because now I'm going to try that immediately. Or, you are the right person. I just knew I should have came to you. And I'm so glad I did. And having those moments to be able to reflect on and go back to kind of eased my nerves in that sense of, no, I think there's an audience out there for me. I just have to find them and they just have to find me. And I'm being intentional about the things I want to talk about and the things that I want to share and grow from because that impacts and determines who my audience is. I don't want anyone that doesn't want to talk about the things that we experience on a day-to-day basis. Now, if you want me, great. I love it. But I got to be true to myself. And so this is something I really want to do. I don't care if no one listens, but I think that there's someone out there that will listen. And so that helped me push past that one, right? And I'm glad because that was probably the biggest hurdle. The second was like, what if I'm not good at this? And that was hard because I'm a perfectionist. I think I'm a Virgo. Let me just put that out there. I'm a Virgo, and I think I'm a true Virgo. And so it's hard for me to kind of envision myself not being good at something, but also being self-aware to know that I'm not good at everything. But with this, I'm like, part of it is will, and then part of it is skill. Answering the first one about whether or not people will listen to me or not, and still persevering through that, the will is there. Now, the skill is the other part that I have to work on, right? And for me, you do have to do the research. Like, you can't just, think that something's going to fall into your lap, or that you don't have to work on something, and it's just going to happen for you. But if you're willing to put in the work, because you are dedicated and because you care about it and you want to hone in on your craft or whatever the situation is, you will do it. And there are tons of moments where it doesn't feel like work. Numerous and countless of days and nights I was researching like how to launch a podcast, what type of equipment do you need, what are some topics you should talk about. And I got excited about it. Like, I was ready to finish the first video so I could go to the next video, and I'm going to the music store, I'm going to the, Best Buy to see the cameras. It was really a clear moment for me to be like, I really want to do this. Not only do I like want to do it, but I'm doing it to make sure I'm doing the things to make sure that I am being beneficial to those that want to listen and are able to take in my experience and talk through that with me, but also for my personal development. Like, this is another skill set that I get to say I mastered, or I'm trying to master and get good at. And it's something that I'm actually excited about doing. And like, that's the thing, right? Like, you want to be doing something that you actually are excited about and brings you joy. And so when I sat and thought about that and really said, hey, if I want to do this, I need to put in the work, and I was willing to, there was no objection that stuck back out to me about that. I was like, okay, like, check, number 2 is off the list. And then the last one, which is what happens when I get judged? Like, what happens if people are going to criticize me? And again, thinking about me personally, I tend to be a very private person. My social media pages were private. I never posted, still have not posted a picture of my son at all. I'm like, you see what I want you to see, and that's it. However, I think that was a protector for me. Like, I think that was me protecting, I know it was me protecting myself, protecting my family, protecting my son. And I really had to sit back and like assess that too, because I know that there's a big piece of vulnerability here, and a big piece of, sharing a little bit about yourself in order to get from others, right? And so for me, I'm like, I can do that. I don't have to put all my business out there, right? Like, there's things you should share and you shouldn't share. But there's no harm. It's actually a benefit to be a little bit more vulnerable, to expose yourself a little bit more, to be able to be more relatable to others, and to build that trust, right? That trust, that camaraderie, that sense of community. And so for me, I really had to take off the training wheels for that. And it's freeing. I equate this to a post that I had earlier this month. Beyonce launched her hair care line, and then she, recently did a video that was showcasing her natural hair. And as someone who is a fellow Virgo, fellow Beehive member, I was like thinking, like, you go Bee, because she is like the epitome of private. I don't even know how sometimes she can do things under wrap the way that she does. But when I saw that, it resonated with me in so many ways. And the most important was, like, she was vulnerable, and we still don't know anything more than what she wants us to know, right? But I know that that was freeing for her to be able to showcase a part of her life, a part of her that we haven't seen in so long. And so that honestly was a recharge for me. And it happened at a time that I needed something like that as confirmation. And so I was so incredibly grateful to be able to see something like that and to get the feeling and emotion that I got from that, which also in turn helped me push forward for this as well. So yeah, I think for me to you, it's really just sitting down and thinking about like, hey, what's the purpose of this? What am I going to get out of this? Who do I help with this, right? Because I think another part of versions of B, me specifically, and us as humans, there is a purpose for us to uplift and encourage and empower others around us, whether it's our immediate circle of close family and friends, and then also our larger community. And if you are able to establish the purpose, the mission behind what you're wanting to do, whether that be you trying to be more successful within your intimate or personal relationships, you trying to be better at that job to get that interview, you trying to make sure that you have the right tools to be able to land that gig with the artist since you're making, producing their beats or making their music, whatever it is, you can do it. You are the only obstacle in your way from doing that. Now, what I will say with that is, again, you do have to put in the work. You can't just think that something's just going to fall in your lap. However, if you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to put your best foot forward and the best effort, your work will pay off. It will reward itself, reward yourself with that. And the only thing I would say is have patience. You'll see it a lot. People don't have overnight success. Some things happen organically, and when they happen, in the same amount of time I would say that it took to better your craft and to get in the right space to be able to do what you need to do. So I want to leave you with a couple of things as I close out this episode. Look at me closing out an episode. Who am I? But the first is you have to do a good job of silencing the noise. You're going to hear these negative thoughts anytime that you're nervous, anytime that you're trying something new, anytime that you have haters, right? And so you have to perfect silencing the noise. Only then will you be able to sit, reflect, and understand your why. That's the next thing. You need to understand your why because that's going to be your motivator, right? That's going to help tell your story. That's going to help you make decisions, whether that's entering into this relationship with someone that you're really, really excited about, even though there might be some red flags, or green flags. It could be determining whether or not you're going to apply for this role that gives you a promotional opportunity. Or if you're someone like me that's trying to tap into podcasting or the influencer creator world, really taking a better look and a step back on what's the things that you need to know to move in the next direction. So taking that time and listening to yourself, getting more understanding on what your why is really critical. And then from there, you want to be putting in the work. You rarely find someone that's able to just do things without putting any effort in, putting any practice in. That's rare. And for most of us, that's never going to happen. But for someone like me, for someone like you, putting in the work behind the desire, the effort, and the will also allow you to silence that self-doubt. There will be no doubt. And then I can say to you, go, let's go, let's do this. You got it, I got it, we got it. Yay. I think I'm done with my first episode. Let's go. Okay, so I'm not going to do it on here, but I can promise you once I close this out, I'm going to go get a shot. I'm a margarita, tequila type of girl. So if you want to celebrate with me, just go ahead and pour you a glass and toast to me as I celebrate us, as I celebrate this community, as I celebrate my first episode. I also would love if you could subscribe to my channel, but most importantly, I would love the engagement, the conversation, the feedback. Did this help you? Is there anything that you can share with me for your best practices conquering self doubt? And what's other things that you want to talk about? What's other things that you want to explore? I'm here for you, and I hope that you're here for me. So, thank you so much for joining my first podcast episode, and I hope to see you back here very soon. Love y'all.